Well, that's all we have for now. Stay tuned on Nile TV International always for more updates, and for more details, please log on to www.nileinternational.net. We are going to follow minute by minute the operation or the process, to be accurate, of the voting on the referendum on the constitutional amendments from inside and outside Egypt. Stay always with us on Nile TV International. This was Nermeen Abdurrahman.
أرحب بحضراتكم في مقر الهيئة الوطنية للانتخابات في المؤتمر الصحفي الأول.
For the first press conferences on the occasion of the referendum on some amendment on the Constitution to 2014. I would like to welcome you at the premises of the National Election Authority at the first conference to cover the process of the referendum on the constitutional amendment. At the outset, I'd like to congratulate you, the Egyptian people, on the occasion of the half of Shaban's month today, such a religious occasion, as well as the national social occasions we live on, and such a democratic celebration of a democratic participation effectively and in a real face that noted by the whole world at its first moment. In fact, the measures of the referendum, as we all know, it was a challenge. The challenge was for the National Election Authority was the timing, yet the authority was up to the challenge and fully prepared to do any maturity in any time. To cut it short, I receive your questions immediately. What I want to say would be in the answer. You, Mr. Councillor, what are the measures made by the authority since the approval of the constitutional amendment with respect to the logistics parts you've already conducted? So the questions have two parts, the logistics and the measurements made by the authority since the approval of the parliament. As we all know, the national is a permanent and a constant in its work, and the judges are fully independent at their work on the daily basis. Therefore, the preparations of the authority was in a speedy and fully prepared, because it's worked on a daily basis, conduct and convenes meetings on a daily basis, starting from the database of the voters, which is the spirit of the electoral process, that to be updated, purified, amended immediately and simultaneously through the communications with the all relevant bodies. In addition to the committees of the governorate to prepare the elections stations, constituencies, the phosphoric inks, and the establishment of the database for the press, as well as the civil societies, the employees. All these matters in the logistics was prepared by the national authority, practiced by it throughout the whole year. Therefore, the preparation of the authority was prepared since it was informed to take all the constitutional measurements upon the approval of the Parliament, which is the state articulated in the 126th article, upon the approval, a book to be submitted to the presidency in order to call upon the referendum. How was the process of the elections, or rather the referendum in its all sides? I wanted just to complete that upon the approval of the Parliament, all the logistics were there, and the board of the authority was convened by issuing the schedule, as well as the measurement organizing the referendum process. And I will talk upon the facilitations by the authority, which was published in the Gazette. The proceedings and the settings of the first day, since the first day one, the operational chamber of the authority was communicated throughout all the courts in the Republic. We've got 38 preliminary court of preliminary judges was contacted, and the committees were open in time. The delay was about 30 to 40 minutes and was only for the Almenia, Sohad, Menafia, Al-Mansur governorate. The delay was about 30 to 40 minutes for several reasons. Yet the authority, around 9:45, has decided, or rather decided that the all work throughout all the constituency was made. What is noticed, as we informed of the delay for some constituencies, or rather committees, some committees in South Sinai and the Eastern Cairo have requested the support and backup from the employees and the judges in order to assist and cooperate the judges and the employees due to the extensive presence of the voters that made us to send a backup for some constituencies in Cairo, such as Al-Gamaliya and Al-Abur city and Medinti. In fact, it was a very civilized features that present the type of the Egyptian citizens that, as we always say, to participate regardless of your opinion, which is actually the actual democratic practices. Take your decision as you like it. The constitutions has given you the right, according to the Article 38, that you should not give away, and it was very good picture. Would like to ask the question from Mr. Karam Gabr, the President of the National Authority of Journalism. Your Excellency, Mr. Councillor, with respect to the authority, the foreign of the civil societies, concerning the facilitation, were there any remarks, feedbacks, obstacles, as well also the most important areas covered by the civil societies or media, domestically and internationally? Mr. Karam's question is very important, as we should say that the follow-up or the observation of the elections that we require, and as we always say in the conferences, we have nothing to hide, and such an observation and follow-up would give more things, transparency, clarity for the process, and whoever submitted to observe who've accepted, as long as all the conditions and terms by the law were provided. The numbers of the organizations numbered 80, 22 of which international, 58 were domestically, among of which the specialized national councils such as the National Council for Women and the Human Rights and the Disabled. In addition to the 40 local organizations submitted and 150 international organizations from the media institutions affiliated to them, 548 correspondents and observers from the international media organizations such as Washington Post, New York Times, Sky News and CNN. With nothing to hide. In fact, we are welcoming whoever wish to observe and monitor the process from all the organizations that we accepted, and the nationality has already decided to make databases for the organizations as well as the media institutions, because the organizing the work is the base and the principles of success. In order, Ms. Hasna Al-Graisi from Al-Ahram Al-Arabi, your question please. Yesterday, the referendum started abroad. My question is the volume of facilitations provided to the Egyptian abroad, first. Second, the percentage of the Egyptian party participation in the referendum. With respect to the Egyptian abroad, in fact, the operations the two operation chambers for the authority, one that followed the process abroad and domestically, considering the second day for the Egyptian abroad and the first day for the Egyptian inside. The operation chamber for the authority on constant communications with the Ministry of Immigration and the authority to overcome all obstacles. The Ministry of Immigration give all the efforts to provide assistance. We have 124 countries that has 140 electoral constituency in consulates and embassies. So we have 140 constituency that witnessed a very organized process of referendum. In particular, yesterday, with respect to the turnout of the voters. Ms. Asma Al-Bakri from Akhbar Al-Yom, your question, please. Greetings to you, sir. It has been a great effort of the National Election Authority. Firstly, the National Council of Media, that some negative remarks was monitored, and by saying that informed the authority with respect to the coverage. Your position with respect to the suspended permissions for such authority, are they going to be dealt today, or are we going to wait after the end? We've also noticed taking photos for some celebrities and artists doing and casting their ballots, which wasn't very nice. We've already seen the taking pictures for their ballots during the process of the referendum. Thank you. With respect to your first questions, of course, there are formed committees receiving all complaints and remarks. In fact, what you are mentioned is examined in the committee. Any media means that break the law, and the decisions of the national authority will be dealt legally. Of course, withdrawal of the permission is the right of the authority. Feel confident that we are very much concerned to apply the law. Therefore, such an issue is examined in the committees. If it is documented and evidence was there, the law will be applied. With respect to your second question, or second part of your question, it is not possible or acceptable to consume the time or exert the effort searching for the sections or the stations, and according to the law it is not allowed to remark of your pencil. It is not allowed not to make any remark in any other card apart from, unless the one that was provided by the section, or rather the stations. It is not allowed to put your name on the card. It is not allowed to cast your vote on a condition. And of course it is making pictures for the card. Maybe it was some sort of overcome the rule. Mr. Ibrahim Qasim from the Al-Yom Al-Saba, the 7th day. I would like to ask you, sir, with respect to the hotline provided by the authority, have you received any complaints regarding any logistics or technical complaint that the voters faced in the first day of the referendum? Secondly, I wanted to ask about the turn out for the Egyptians in the Arab countries. Have they been monitored, and what about the discrepancy of such incidents vis-a-vis the presidential elections? The operation chapters made the hotline 16140, 16149 is the number of the hotline for the authority. Adding to the communication means of the authority by sending an SMS 5151 by adding your ID to receive your place, or to call 141, or to log on the website of the authority. In fact, the authority has received most of the complaints in the operational chamber was concerning the information, or rather the inquiries of their premises or their constituencies. And prior to the opening, were informed that the constituency were closed, and after the examining the complaint, we found that the negative question, and taking into consideration that there was, or there is, a break, 1 hour break from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., which is a break for the judge and the employees. And we remember, because of the extensive turnout, we wanted to make the voting during the break hour. Constituency 51 in the Judge Ahmed Muhammad Suleiman Amir, his brother was passed away, that we send our condolences. In fact, he completed their shift until was replaced by another judge, which is a matter that we expect from the Egyptian people, from the judiciary system, the armed forces, the civil police, that they exert all the effort for the safeness of the nation. From Al-Ahram portal, Council, my question is there any provision with respect to the percentage of turnout of the referendum? Are there any provision made by the law with respect to the number of the voters? My second question, is it allowed for the media means to deal with the results of the public committees, or it is not allowed? With respect to the Article 126 of the Constitution, stipulated at its end clause, what is needed for the referendum is the sound majority of the votes participated, which are effective by the Constitution upon the announcement of the result. Once more, the majority of the sound votes participated. I cannot add more rather than those who are participated. It is normal. There is no specific number. If, for instance, if 20 million attended, which it makes that 10 million and one are the favorable, which is the majority of the sound votes participated, which moves us to the second part of your question. Yes, with respect to the results, let me just say it is a must for the databases of the votes that indicate the number of 61,343,503, 61,344,503. And as we remember, in the presidential election, it was about 59 million registered voters. What we've done of addition and mutin, as I say, that the committees of the authority work on a daily basis. The total number of the male, 30,300,000 and more, with a percentage of 50%. And the total of the female votes, 30,460,130 female votes, of 39%, which they are mostly the half of the numbers. And the numbers of the constituency were about 6,000 and more, and the number of the public constituencies is about 368 public constituency and affiliated constituency, and the number of the judges is about 19,000 judges. 15 of them supervised realistically, and 4,000 as alternative, and the number of the employees and personnel working is 130 employees. With respect to the databases divided based on the number or the ages of the voters. With respect to the media, civil society, to attend the selection, which is one of the main and strong guarantees to witness the selections in the public constituencies, which is the numbered counting, that and the president of the constituency direct to the main constituency and send him to the authority, which has the sole the sole action and no one else apart from the authority to announce the result or deal with it, just the selection and the counting of the ballots of the affiliated constituency to send it to the main constituency of the authority in order to announce it, which is the sole entity to make such an act. My question to Sir, with respect to the announcing the primary result at the public committees or announcing the whole result in one specific time, whether it is abroad or domestically, is it going to be in the primary announcement? I've mostly answered your question. As I said, no one is going to announce the result but the National Election Authority, nor the public, nor the affiliated committees to do such an act, as well as the selection. Muhab Shalan from the Nile News. A number of ministries have already announced a number of chambers, operation chamber to monitor the process. Are there any communications between, or rather coordinations between the authority and ministers? And is there any complaints you received? My second question concerning the fine for those who refused not to participate in such the referendum. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, the operation chamber of the authority on constant communications with all chambers, whether they are from the Ministry of Immigration or the Foreign Affairs, or the formed chamber in the Ministry of Local Development, in the Ministry of Interior, and all relevant bodies or concerned bodies, in order to overcome any obstacles or problems the Egyptian citizen would face. Mr. Ahmed Wagia, from the first page, Al-Safha Al-Ula, I've already answered a lot, and we are very welcome to repeat. The same question concerning the fines. The second question, to what extent the confirmed news about today, tomorrow and the day after would be a half day for the worker? We would like to get a confirmation from such an announcement. The authority has nothing to do with such a news that would make us to say that it is a must to make sure of the news we we hear, of its resources in the Center of Information. Also, we in the authority have already made such a measurement to make sure that the news are totally confirmed and sound. And we'd like to seize the opportunity of having Mr. Akram Gaber being with us. Miss Iman Gaber from Al-Musawwir magazine. Good afternoon, Mr. Councillor. In fact, my questions with respect to the fines. Taking fines for those who are refusing or absent to participate in the referendum, with respect to the previous ones, used to have a resolution or a decree regarding the fine. It is a repeated question, ma'am. In fact, I've already, let me just to be more useful and informative for the people. Mr. Abdul Rahman Abaza from Al Hadith Al Yom. Greetings, Mr. Councillor. As you mentioned, Mr. Councillor, that there are several organizations internationally, domestically, that follow up such constitutional maturity. What is the focal point between such institutions and the authority? And have you monitored throughout the 2 days of the referendum? Are there any organizations have noticed any obstacles that hindered the process of the referendum? We've already communicated with them effectively. These organizations, according to the law, after the process, would provide a report to be submitted before the authority. It has nothing, they have nothing to interfere with the work of the committees nor the judges or to direct the voters. Therefore, at the end, submit their report to the authority that include all the remarks. Not during the process, at the end of the process of the referendum. In fact, note that accidentally some of them faced some difficulties for their entrance, such constituency. Hence, I would like to seize the opportunity to tell them, those observers, to show their permission to the security officers upon entering the electoral constituencies. So some faced some difficulties because of them showing their permissions or permits before the security personnel. Yes, the results we've said according to the table or the timetable to the maximum date is 27th of April. Based on the law, the result to be announced through the following 5 days of receiving the papers of the whole process. Therefore, we have the 22nd is the last day. Once we received the papers on the 23rd, we'll announce it. And if we within the last 5 days upon receiving the last paper, I would like to thank you. Thanks very much. Tomorrow, God willing, will be another conference at 4 p.m. to keep you briefed about the whole process.
المؤتمر الصحفي الذي عقدته الهيئة الوطنية للانتخابات.